The following program is an original MCM production for Community Channel 14.
Welcome to the first panel of Milwaukee's Creative Forces. I'm your host, Patricia Oblitz. As a longtime activist and artist, I organized today's panel in honor of National Mental Health Month. Did you know that 1 in 4 people have a mental illness at least one time in their lifetime? That's a statistic from the National Institute of Mental Health. What this means to you and to all of us is that mental illnesses run in every family. So here to talk today about creativity and mental health issues are, on my right, Brenda Wesley, who developed ASK, which is Access, Support, and Knowledge, which is a program that was adopted by the National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Yeah.
And next to Brenda is Willie Briscoe, Assistant Superintendent of the House of Corrections. He is also the president of the Milwaukee Vocational Fund. To my left is George Martin, an international peace leader and program director of Peace Action, Wisconsin. And on George's left is John Hartman. John is a musician and also a music therapist with the Milwaukee Center for Independence. So let's begin with you, Brenda. What led you to develop your program?
Actually, Patricia, 10 years ago, my son was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And with that diagnosis in my community, which is the African American community, there was no resources that I could find. I didn't know anything about accessing the system. I didn't know anything about support. I didn't even know about mental illness itself. So there came a time during that diagnosis that some other things escalated with his illness that I made it a point to start advocating on my son's behalf. As a matter of fact, my baby sister about 1.5 years ago was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. My son right now is serving time in Oshkosh Correctional Institution because he came off of his medication. So with that in mind, I just took it upon myself that I need to go out and educate the community about mental illness, especially the African American community, because of the stigma and because of all the secrets that we kind of keep in our closets, that I started the ASK program with the help of NAMI. NAMI adapted the program when I knocked on their door, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, as well as I received some funding from AstraZeneca and the Kubli Foundation to take this program forth. And the program started in October of last year, and we've been quite busy with the program.
That's wonderful. Willie, can you talk a little bit about the Vocational Fund and how that got started and what it's for, what the hope is for it, and how people win?
Yes, thank you. Vocational Fund basically started off as a vocational scholarship fund for non-traditional students to actually help those individuals that maybe have come into criminal elements in the community, who may have been down on their luck, who didn't go through the natural process of high school or to get scholarships. It actually was started by Pastor Lee Shaw at St. Gabriel's Church of God in Christ to one of his mentees who was, I guess, in a drive-by shooting, sitting on her porch one afternoon and was struck by a bullet and died. What he did after that was decided that the victims as well as the perpetrators needed an advocate in the community. They were not disposable individuals, that we needed to reach out to those non-traditional individuals and try to mentor them through this community, through the criminal element within the society. So with the partnership of St. Gabriel's, MATC, and a various collaborative, we developed a scholarship fund and an endowment at MATC to actually up those individuals to further their education and their vocational abilities.
Thank you. Now, because we're here also to talk about art and creativity, I understand you have a new art program at the prisons, in the prison system. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Our programs facilitator at the Milwaukee County House Correction has set up art classes now to go along with the other various programs that we have for those individuals that are incarcerated. As you know, incarceration kind of leads to dead time, and it leads to frustration. So we try to engage those individuals in as many activities as we possibly can to keep their minds sharp, to keep them focusing on the future, and to keep them feeling good about themselves as they go through this process, because they will be entering the community one day, and we want them to enter as functional and contributing citizens.
And so when juveniles get arrested and convicted and put into jail, do you have a special program for them?
Well, there are various GED programs for the individuals that get put in jail. And the Franklin community has a very, very, very active school system that states that whenever a juvenile is in the city of Franklin that has not completed his education, is 17 years old or less, that individual must obtain a GED or get his high school equivalency. So with the help of Franklin Schools and MATC, those individuals that are in our system that haven't finished high school will get their GEDs and their high school equivalency exams.
That's wonderful. And then for those who are diagnosed with a mental health issue?
Well, as you know, in the criminal institution in years past, there has been a lack of diagnosis and a lack of care for those individuals. But through education and through training, institutions have become wise to realize that a lot of criminal activity was spurred by medical issues of individuals not being treated or diagnosed. So I'm glad to say that a lot of individuals who come to our institution who used to be said that they were going through withdrawals or they were just acting out, we have now mechanisms in place through social workers and psychiatrists that diagnose these people as needing medication and have mental issues rather than criminal issues. So
that's wonderful. And then talk therapy goes along with the medication?
Yeah, talk therapy, the treatment goes along with medication. They regularly see psychiatrists. They have social workers assigned. We actually have a special housing unit that is basically dedicated to individuals who have mental issues. And there's a social worker that is dedicated to this housing unit, and the officers that supervise this unit are trained in behaviorals that they need to actually observe and report to social workers as far as acting out of these individuals.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. Now, George, you recently came back from Baghdad. And we all know what's going on over there. Mm-hmm. And would you like to speak on what you experienced over there and about the soldiers returning home?
Well, I've served our veterans here for almost 20 years. And the whole issue of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorders, should be called post-traumatic stress normalities of war. I mean, we put good men and women in situations that are untenable. And at the same time, sad to say, we had the experience of Vietnam, and we're expecting more than 650,000 of our men and women from Afghanistan and Iraq coming home needing those services. Also, as their families are affected. And I think as we talk about art and the subject today, one of the newer trends developing, and some close friends of mine, Mike Duffy and over at Marquette and Lynn Daly, are working in terms of healing circles that involve more spiritual approaches toward that healing and finding oneself, through various means of art and meditation and applying traditional clinical approaches. But I think this whole area is so important. And I want to mention one more thing that we don't think about in terms of war. That's a country that's majority women and children. And the bombing, as it affects those children, there are hundreds of thousands of children in Iraq who can't sleep at night, and only 10 psychologists. And so those are corresponding needs to our veterans in terms of what we do around this particular war and mental illness.